All right, folks, and welcome to the runningrestaurants.com podcast, where we bring you the tips, tools, and techniques you need to know to make your restaurant more profitable and successful. I'm your host, Jaime Oikle. Got a great episode for you. I'm here with Matthew Patrick, president of Patrick Accounting, as well as Works. We'll talk about both of those. Matthew, we've had you on before, so I know you're going to have lots of good tips for these guys, so I'm happy to revisit with you. I'm open to go wherever it goes. So let's see where it goes. But tell us a little bit about what you guys do in the hospitality sector, and we will go from there.
Yeah, we are. First of all, happy to be back on. Glad to see you again. Yeah. We are in the outsourced accounting space, so we do anything from paying your bills to running payroll, running outsourced HR, monthly accounting work. Taxes, everything to do with the outside back office when it comes to your accounting and people functions.
Yeah. I want to, preface it with hey, there's so much that goes wrong with restaurants. And so you guys see the dirty side when the numbers aren't.
We see all the things that go wrong with restaurants. Yeah. At least the money part.
Yeah. So it's going to be fun. Let's kind of just, what are some hot buttons that's things that are on your radar right now that are not working out well for restaurants, or things they need to think about?
I'm assuming you're seeing the same things. I mean, it's just margins continue to get pushed down to nothing. There's a lot of competition, new restaurants, new concepts, there's always, every day there's another restaurant coming to town, and then yet you've got people problems, you've got food cost problems. So it's all the same things I think everybody else sees. We see it firsthand every day. People, we're retraining employees, helping them on the piece that we interact with, but we're knowing that they are struggling to find people, and they're struggling to, keep up with pricing and all the different things. So I'm assuming that's similar to what you're seeing.
Yeah. It is a lot of those challenges. Let's talk about maybe cash flow, right? I mean, just straight, I was just reading something a few minutes ago this morning that used the phrase everyone loves, cash is king, and it is. And sometimes we get distracted by what's in the bank account versus what's actually spendable and so forth. And you know this much better than I. So how do restaurants think about cash flow? How should they think about? What are some mistakes and tips in that regard?
Well, the mistakes that we often see start a little bit before that. Our restaurants have a tendency to not look at their numbers. It surprises me. They're busy every day in the restaurant. It's easy to get distracted by, the cook not showing up and disgruntled guest or something just not happening well in the restaurant. But what we find is that the owners that are most successful are really taking a very proactive look at their numbers from a cash flow standpoint. What I always say is we are a big believer in trying to keep things simple, and so we recommend let's have which bank account should we be setting up, and how do we set the systems up so that you don't have to worry and stress over the cash part. So we follow the profit first system. We recommend our clients do the same, segmenting cash into smaller buckets that they know exactly and have a purpose for the money. So it could be anywhere from, profit first account for putting the tax money aside, sales tax and income tax, depending on what they've got going on, but also just the normal, making sure they're planning for the rainy day, planning for actually driving a profit. So the profit first system really has helped our clients align their goals with profit around their cash, which has been huge.
Okay. Question for you. I'm going to take notes as you go. So the first thing I wrote when you said restaurants don't look at numbers enough, and it's true because I've heard that. And then you said successful restaurants are on top of it. What is a good guideline aside from waking up every morning and looking at a dashboard
every day, 24/7? Look at your numbers.
Yeah,
as the accountant.
That would be good. But what should they be doing? What numbers should they be looking at? What are those key numbers you want to see on a daily/weekly basis?
I mean, I think staying first is on top of their point of sale. That's what's selling, what make sure that their labor costs. So I would look at, we're looking at certain things like, scheduled hours versus actual hours, staffing per per revenue volume. Those are the simple ones, right? So point of sales today are so good. The ability for them to see that data in real time. You have a schedule. If you're not using a scheduling software, I'd recommend, heavily looking at that just so you can have a really good handle on what's supposed to happen. But, really staying on top of labor. That's the daily activity that they could always do. From a money standpoint, having a system in place so that you can not have to worry about the cash. So like I said before on Profit First, it's all right. I know like in Tennessee, we're a 10% sales tax state. So if that's true, putting that money aside every day without having to think about it. So I know that some money is there. And so when it's due next month, I already have it set aside. It's not sitting in the same commingled account. So I think, our logic is processes first, technology is second, and then the people are third. So if I can get the systems and processes in place to simplify this stuff so that then the technology can drive that efficiency and then the people can oversight and make things work in the right way. And so that's kind of where we start with cash flow management. It's like daily, let's set the systems and processes up so I don't have to worry about these things. But then on our monitoring and oversight, we want to go into the point of sale first.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, it does, because I want to go right back to technology, because you hinted at it from the beginning and it has changed dramatically since I'm sure you started in the restaurant business to where it is today. Cloud-based technology, all the stuff is very affordable for every level of operation, no matter if you're a big chain or small mom and pop, you can get good technology. So what are some of the tech tips you're seeing restaurants do to help streamline dollars? Is it inventory stuff? Is it that invoicing stuff?
Yeah, I mean, our number one choice right now is, it really twofold. It's a good scheduling software, make it easy for your employees to trade shifts, make it easy for you to know projected hours. Point of sale, obviously, we have preferred point of sales that we highly recommend. And then, on the inventory side, it's having an inventory system. There's a bunch of them out there: Margin Edge, Extra Chef, Restaurant 365. There's a ton of them out there. We work with all of them, but the reality of it is the ones that do it the best, the restaurants that do it the best, or have one of those three things in place. And so they're looking at theoretical food costs versus actual food costs. They're looking at, what is selling, what is, what and how should I best structure my menu. So all those things are really, really important. I mean, if you don't have a modern cloud-based point of sale, you should have one. Like that's number one. There's still a lot of good on-premises stuff out there. It's hard to connect all the things you need to connect to it.
Yeah.
So from some of them have good scheduling technology, some of them don't. So we kind of talk about a best of breed a lot in the restaurant space.
Yeah.
My firm is a Restaurant 365 partner, and it's a great technology, but it's not the best fit for everybody. And I think a lot of restaurants, so they have multi-units, a little overkill. It's just the cost versus the benefit. You can get a lot other things in place with just best of breed in the little pieces, and it can be really affordable.
Yeah, that connection part where you have 3 or 4 different pieces of software, or sometimes
you've got usually some kind of HR technology being your payroll provider.
Yeah.
You've got your point of sale, your inventory system, your scheduling software, your tip management system. All those things gotta be talking together to drive the efficiencies you want to see. And so we kind of talk through that when we bring on a new client, kind of say, what is your tech stack that you're using and where do you want to go with this? We also run into the challenge of how good is their team to use it and implement it and run it every day. And if they're having turnover problems, that's going to be hard. So we try to set those systems and processes up to how do we get them out of that process so it's really easy for them to maintain, regardless of who they're plugging into it.
Yeah, and you already mentioned the word. I was going to say tech stack. Like it's like, you have all these things and they got to work together. But you guys do advisory as well as tax and accounting, and something you said made me think about that piece of it. I think it was when you talked about menu. Talk about the conversation you have with operators about their menu and looking at, say, that seafood dish that's just not delivering any profits. Like you're losing a couple bucks every time you sell that. Like you got to get that off the menu. Stars, dogs, cash cows. Like how do you talk about menu development with folks?
We try to stay in our lane. First of all, I'll preface that with we're an accounting firm, so we try to stay in that accounting lane as much as possible. But because we see so many different things, we do talk about menu engineering. It is one of those things where you go, hey, it's a great dish. It tastes wonderful. You're making 45 cents on that. That's great. Can we figure out a way not to make 45 cents on that dish? Is you have a quantity problem? Is it you're putting too much on the plate? Do you have a, hey, that's good, but could we pair it with something else or make sure that we are upselling it with something else to make sure that it actually does become a profitable item? It's great that you're running a special for it. That's fantastic. But if it's not making any money, what's the point? I don't think, I think a lot of the restaurants we see get in the habit of just having the same things all the time. They haven't adjusted prices as much as they should.
Mm-hmm.
We've had that happen, recently. You're talking about the whole egg crisis that happened a month or two ago now. And it's like, guys, you do realize that you're losing money every time you serve an omelet. So you put a 3-egg omelet on there and you're charging $10 and it costs you $9 for the eggs. Probably not making a lot of sense. But yeah, so we want to make sure that we're looking at what is selling and what is our true profit margin on that item or that menu item that we're selling. And that's where the inventory systems today really do that. I mean, I can tell you Margin Edge does that really well. 365 does that really well.
Mm-hmm.
Both those tools do handle that stuff exceptionally well. So you know what's working, what's selling, what you're making on it, and allows you to have the ability to change price. Even talking about technology, getting back into I liked COVID for a lot of things, but I hated that I had to always use a QR code when I went to a restaurant because I'm an old guy and I like it. I like my paper. But at the same time, I know from a restaurant owner standpoint, having the ability to change your menus really quickly and easily, QR codes made that a lot easier. And it allowed them to update their pricing to align with what the true cost of delivering that food item was. And so we really did talk a lot about how often are they evaluating prices, particularly over the last few years as our inflation just gone through the roof.
Yeah, listen, prices have been wild over the last stretch, and it used to be the case where you'd go to a place for years and you'd kind of feel the same prices or small changes, and that's not where we are right now.
I mean, you can't go to McDonald's today and get a burger for under $10. I mean, that tells you.
Oh my gosh, I know my go-to lunch would be in just a Subway or a sandwich shop, and you're like, I'm in and out for $8. It's $14-15. Like what? Yep. I'm like, what? Yeah, go. Yep. And so, yeah, that's.
I remember the $5 footlong. Those days are gone.
I want that. I want that. I want that back. But listen, let's go to something in the menu area. Cash cows specifically. There are some items, and I think Roger back when we did our webinar. If you don't, Roger from Restaurant Trust, when we do some webinars with Roger, we always talk about his garlic knot story, right? He was selling pizzas, and there's that extra piece that they'd cut off. They'd use that dough, they'd turn it into garlic knots. They'd sell for $10, cost 10 cents, literally. It was actually extra. That wasn't even accounted for.
Scrap.
Pure scrap, right? Yeah, pure scrap. A couple of little trinkets on it, whatever. Excellent 90% margin on that. So the
bigger thing of that, it's an item that goes ahead of your main dish. Mm-hmm. So you're getting your average ticket price up. You're keeping the customer happy and in theory, you're keeping them occupied in that stretch of time. You're getting an appetizer sold a lot faster. It's just, those are simple things.
Yeah, and you have to have those ones on your menu to balance off some of the things that are going to be a little bit flatter, right? And it could be this. You still want to sell that popular one that's mom's famous recipe, but it's no longer kicking a lot of cash. But if you have those garlic knots, or again, I go back to Roger's story, these glacier bowls, these $20 drinks that again cost you hardly anything to put together, but have a big perceived value. You gotta dice those into your menu effectively. So that made me think about that, and I'm sure you've helped folks along the line. So
we also think through a lot when it comes to pricing. It's menu simplification.
Yeah,
we have clients that are over ordering. They sell onesie twosies of every item. That menu that's too broad. It's just like the same as our business. And I'm assuming it's like a lot of any business owners, like you're saying yes to too many things.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why Chick-fil-A sells chicken. Like they keep it really simple.
They do.
Everything has to have a purpose. That everything in your kitchen has to have a purpose. Every meal, the simpler your menu can be, the easier it is to order. The easier it is to repeat what you do. And so I find those restaurants with just really broad menus, if they're not, if in order to do it well, you have to kind of keep things a little simpler.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. That could be kind of tip 101 if you're struggling, like simplify a little bit, get things a little bit simpler and build back from there. Let's go to the exciting world of taxes. What are some what are, what are some tax tips?
Woohoo!
What are some things that people need to know about, things to avoid, etc.
Yeah, on the tax side, first of all, got a lot going on.
Hmm.
House bill supposed to pass any day. No tax on tips. That's going to be interesting. I'm
Hmm.
curious to see if that actually make it all the way through. It was a big campaign promise that happened. No tax on tips and no tax on overtime pay. That could change
Hmm.
a lot. That could create some efficiencies for the owners to not be afraid to maybe change the dynamic of the restaurants a little bit. I'm curious to see what that does from a strategy standpoint for the restaurant
Hmm.
owners. But tax wise, right now, I always say the basics. I start with, let's make sure that we're not spending money that we don't know where it's going.
Hmm.
We've seen that happen a lot over the years, and so our first tip always is, let's make sure we're capturing everywhere you're spending money. We've had people buy vehicles for the work that they don't run through their business corporate checking account. We never know that they did it. They don't communicate well with their accountant, or just not keeping up with all the stuff that they're doing. We still have a number of issues when it comes to taking advantage of the available credits that are out there. We see a lot of restaurant owners that are missing the tip credit on their tax returns. That we see people not taking advantage of work opportunity tax credits. Both of those are basically free money that the government's giving us in this space, and they're not looking at it. They didn't know that was something they could do. We probably run into that 4 or 5 times a year,
Hmm.
where we find new clients that they didn't know they could get a tip credit, and they're in the restaurant business, which I don't even understand how that's possible. But those are the big ones. And then the last thing is just actually preparing for taxes. So
Hmm.
knowing that if you're making money, that's the goal of every business, if you're making money, having a plan for the money is really the part that we start with. Is, do you know how you're going to cash flow the taxes that you owe? What are you doing with a tax plan to minimize that legally? And then making sure you're taking advantage of all the things you're allowed to do, and so that you pay not a penny more than you're supposed to.
Yeah, good, Matthew. Thanks for running through that. It's the nitty gritty that not a lot of us love to dive into, and
It's really the basics, right? That's what I was, all those things are really the basics. But like every day, we work with, we probably work with 130 restaurants, and
Hmm.
it's just the simple things. I mean, it's the simple things like, hey, you spent that money. Did you tell anybody you bought a new truck? I mean, like, that sounds silly. Or you bought this new piece of equipment, but you leased it, and you're paying it with on a credit card that your accountant doesn't even have access to. That happens all the time. So
You just mentioned folks that you work with. Are you guys geographically constrained? Do you find yourself working with
no,
folks
we
all
work
over the
with people all over
country?
the country.
Yeah.
So when we have a core base here in Memphis, obviously. Our team is we are a hybrid team. We have 30-ish people here in Memphis. We've got 15 people remote all across the country. We work with franchise groups and locally owned restaurants all over. We also work with non-restaurants too. We have about a third of our business is restaurants, bars,
Mhm.
and then another third is white collar services of some kind, and then a third of everything else is what I tell people. It's like we do a little bit of everything on the accounting space. On the payroll side, we work in all 50 states. So
You made me think about something. Do you still work with your brother? Is that true? Did I see that?
Nope, I don't have a brother, so that's not me. No,
What?
I have my mom,
I
my
swear
mother-in-law
there's not
started with
another
me in my
Patrick
firm.
somewhere. Oh
No,
man,
no,
who's
it's
on
all
the
good.
Who's on the podcast with you?
That's Mike. That's Mike Schaefer. Yeah, that's my COO.
Oh, for some reason I thought
He's
you
been
guys
with
were
me for
connected, related.
yeah. Maybe that's true. Yeah, that probably makes sense. We do look a little bit alike. We're
That's
both,
what it is.
old fat white guys. So, but we, yeah, my wife works here. My daughter works here. My mother-in-law was my first employee, but she's now retired. But yeah, it's a family business like anything else, but it's a lot of fun.
Okay,
Mike's
cool.
been here now almost 11 years. It's been great.
Now you mentioned payroll. Another thing that is great when it's happens perfectly in the
Done well.
background. It just works. It just works. I'm
God,
not worried
please
about
just work.
cutting
Make sure everybody
checks.
gets paid every time without any problems.
Yeah.
That's the goal, right?
Yeah. What are some quick overviews there?
We really do follow the same logic there. It starts with process. So, what's your system and structure around making sure that you're bringing your people on easily? So from electronic onboarding to making sure your application process is digital. If you're offering benefits, if you're offering, if you need a handbook signed off, all your training, all that stuff should be very systematized when you bring on an employee. Unfortunately, in the restaurant business or any business, that turnover of employees is something that's going to happen. And so you want to make sure that the process is easy to follow so you can find the best people you can. From a payroll standpoint, we want to make sure that we're integrating and getting your payroll information, your payroll data into the payroll system as efficiently as possible. So obviously connecting your point of sale or your scheduling software to your payroll software, super critical. We want to give power to the employees to make the changes they need to make. Very simple things like changing their address, updating their W-4, changing their direct deposit. That's all stuff that employees should be able to do in today's world. And then making sure that, everything is easy and to handle as possible from a process standpoint. Technology, we're works as an iSolve partner, so we're an iSolve firm, but there's a lot of good technology out there. It's really not about the technology in the payroll space anymore. All the big payroll companies basically have the same technology. It really comes down to, can they guide you on process, and can they guide you and support you when you have a problem?
Yeah. I was thinking, and I don't know if it's the case, but that onboarding piece, some HR and payroll stuff get involved, and even setting up the initial trainings and stuff like that. You guys in that space at all?
Yep. Yeah. So we do all the employee onboarding. We have an outsourced HR option in our space. So that could be anything from making sure you have your handbook set up to having a direct hotline when something happens, employer issue. And we, on the employee benefit administration standpoint, we do anything from we're an insurance agency, so we offer benefits, but also tie that into actual full benefit administration, from open enrollment to getting your employees signed up. When the employees have a question on benefits, they can reach out to us directly.
Oh, okay.
So we're kind of an alternative to a PEO.
Okay. So even more than I realized there. Okay. Wow. Shoot. All right. One thing you mentioned, I think I interviewed somebody recently that was in a space where they were taking tips and digitally giving to people like the same day, like that sort of stuff. Is that happening?
That's a big push in the industry, right? That same day tip. There's a number of tools out there. We actually have an article on our website about this. There's the push for daily pay is a big thing. We've had clients come to us saying, we can't find people, we're losing people because the place they're going to across the street is doing this. And we talk to them about, well, is it the best thing to do for your employees? Are you a steward of your business in the best way if you're offering that? We have tools that we obviously plugged into. We're a Tip House partner, which is a tip management reporting software. We have Kickfin, which is another one of those out there providers out there that do that. We work with those people with that have that service turned on already, which is that they can take their cash out tips. They can take their credit card tips every day, which nice thing what that does for the employee is, in today's world, all that tip money is being almost, most of our clients are getting all their money in tips on credit card. So either the restaurant's having to go get cash to pay that out, or they're having to put it on their paycheck. This gives them an alternative to that, to get that money out in the hands. But we integrate with all that on the payroll side to make it as simple as possible. The nice thing about all those tools today is they usually integrate really well with your point of sale and with the payroll providers. So getting all those things connected, once again, it's all about process. So how do you make that where it's not a burden on the employer, on the restaurant owners and restaurant groups, but at the same time, the employees still have a good experience. So they don't have to worry about, paying a bunch of stupid fees, getting that money out that it's already theirs. It allows them to report tips better. And so in theory, the better you're reporting tips, the employees are not going to have an issue with tax time, and the employer themselves are taking advantage of tip credit. And so it's something we want to make sure that those processes and systems are all in line to make it as easy as possible for them to go through that.
Yeah, good. I appreciate that. Yeah, I know people do like to get the money faster, and I know I'm probably in that category that pays mostly digitally. I will pay with cash every once in a while. I interviewed someone recently. I think they threw out a number. They thought it was about 90% was credit card versus cash, and maybe you
I
see
would
similar.
imagine today most restaurants are over 90%. I know
Yeah.
that if I have cash in my wallet, it's a rarity.
Hmm.
I know that I'm paying almost exclusively at a restaurant with I want to document the charge that I had. I want it, it just makes it easy.
Yeah.
And I don't ever have cash. So I'm assuming for restaurants that are having to pay out cash tips every day, having the system to do that digitally would be a lot easier for them.
For sure. Let's go to some personal stuff as we start to head towards.
Okay, fun.
You guys are running. You've been running a business for years now, growing up. We talked a little bit before the call about your sports background, but what would you say is some good advice you've received over time? Could be personal, could be business, could be life. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm real big on culture, and so that sounds silly, but like I love the saying, "Culture beats strategy." Every time. And so we've been really fortunate around here to grow a really fun team. We really bleed our values and we hire off them. We talk about them a lot with both us and our clients internally and with our clients about the everything we do is based off a set of firm values, from hiring, from the clients we serve to how we want to serve them. Yeah. And so that's always kind of, I love that saying. Because we hire for people for who they are, and we'll teach them what they need to know.
Good, love it. So that kind of stays in where I just want to go next in terms of quotes, and you kind of referenced a quote there. But is there another quote or a saying or a mantra that you like to use in life?
I mean, iron sharpens iron is always kind of one. I like competition. I like trying to improve things. I love beating up processes. I'm probably not as dedicated on the working outside to get iron sharpens iron, but the rest of me, I'm all about playing little games in the office, but also just, creating a scoreboard. Winning and losing matters.
Yeah, for sure. Have you, I just mentioned it because it comes up every once in a while. Have you started playing pickleball yet?
I have. Oh wait, I got something for you. I'm playing a pickleball tournament this weekend. So that was not a setup, I promise.
That was not planned, people. That was not planned.
No, we as a firm, every Thursday night, our office, we have 2 courts reserved. Our whole office, but we have 10 to 12 people play every Thursday.
Okay.
And then this weekend we're sponsoring a charity tournament here. And
good.
I'm playing men's doubles on Saturday and mixed doubles on Sunday. So
good.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
So we're on Tennessee though, so we don't have to worry about that really good Florida competition like some people.
Yeah.
All those people have gone down there that were, these 5-0 tennis players, and now they're we're going to take over pickleball courts.
Yeah, we've seen it down where I am. It's so active. People are getting so good.
It's super fun. I'll tell you why I like it. Honestly, for someone my age, I'm in my 50s. I can do it and not feel terribly bad the next day. I'm not hurting. It only takes about an hour to have a good day, and it's super fun. And you go out there and meet some new people. And it's something that, like I said, I love competition. So I feel like I'm young again.
You get a quick dose of competition. You're in and out. You hit all the high points. You can do it. It's.
You playing pickleball too?
Yeah. I played this morning. So definitely.
We played last night. I'm a little sore today. I'm going, oh crap! We got it's guaranteed 5 matches both Saturday and Sunday. So I'm like, I'm going to be really sore on Monday.
You'll be all right.
I'll be fine. It's a lot of fun though.
The social aspect of it's been good.
Yeah, my wife and I, we've gone on we went to Mexico on a vacation last year, ended up playing pickleball every day. It's like, I'm not sure this is what I was planning to do on my vacation, but we did play a lot.
Yeah. It's everywhere. All right. Well, hey, let's go to a book you're reading, or you have read recently, or something you just love to recommend to folks. What do you think?
Yeah, the book I always recommend is the same one. It's Ideal Team Player by Patrick Lencioni. I'm a huge Patrick Lencioni fan. If you haven't read all of his stuff, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, Ideal Team Player, The Advantage, there's a bunch of, they're all really good. Okay. But Ideal Team Player is everything we hire from. All of our culture is built around that. The idea of that book, which is just, it's important to hire people based on 3 skills. And I think every business would say that they agree with these. They have to be hungry, humble, and people smart. And if you can have those three things in your people, you're going to have a great team. And I would highly recommend it. It's take you about 3 hours to read it cover to cover, and it's one of the best books I've ever read.
Good. Thanks for that one. Haven't heard it, so I wrote it down. I put it in highlighter. I'll try to pick that one up.
What you would have that one knocked out this afternoon.
Well, yeah, I like books that I can read fast, but I also like to read I tell people on the podcast, I read for, sometimes it's just 5 or 10 minutes a day. It's not like I'm checking something off my list, but it's like I'm checking something off my list.
That's an atomic habit. That's a good job.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. Did I read a little bit today? And when I don't, there's no excuse for not reading for 5 or 10 minutes.
How many books would you say you read on an average year?
Again, I will literally take, this is the book that that's come up recently.
Are you a paper book version? Like
yes,
you want to read physically read?
Got to be paper. But like these 3 books, like I'll read a little bit from every day. And so by the course of just doing a little bit every day, I'll get through, 5-10 books a year. Nothing crazy. That's not insane. Sometimes
I'm an audible guy. So yeah. I'm a obsessive reader. But yeah, so I'm a big reader. We talk about that a lot. Leaders should be readers. It's that little bit of that hunger value, in my opinion, is the idea that you want to always keep getting better. And I think reading is a huge piece of that.
And what I found, and again, if people are overwhelmed with it, oh man, I can't read. I can't find time to read. I read a chapter from this book this morning, and these chapters are tiny. Hug Your Customer by Jack Mitchell. Get the book no matter what. And reading that one chapter is 3 minutes. And I read some other stuff too. But but the thing about reading that one chapter for 3 minutes is like, I got a really good business tip from that one chapter. And I could take that and implement it in my business today, and you could as well. So don't feel like you have to dig in and sit down in your sofa and take a whole weekend and read a book. Like read something new that's outside your comfort zone for a little bit each day.
Yeah, one of the things on my end of reading, I always tell, is for me, I'm pulled in a billion different directions, like every other owner, and I feel like it helps me slow down a little bit. And I usually do. It does free my mind up to be thinking about what's the next thing we should work on or whatever. And I'm a big believer in that it helps me manage my stress. If I don't read, I feel like I get little flustered. And so it's kind of a way to ground myself.
Well said. Yeah, well said. It slows you down. All right, last thing I'll ask you, trends that you might have seen or are coming up in the industry. Tech is probably one of them, but where's the restaurant space going to be 2-3 years down the road as it relates to what you guys do? What do you think?
I think there's more and more tech. You said you hit it spot on. I think it's all about the technology today. I mean, restaurants are trying to drive efficiencies. It's the same as our industry. The accounting industry is exactly the same. Everything is rolling around tech. How AI is influencing our spaces. It's kind of scary,
for sure.
But also one of the things we have to really embrace as a accounting firm. But I think if you're not taking advantage of the efficiency of the tools that are available to you, you're going to get left in the dust. If you think about it, every one of the major restaurant chains in the U.S. has really implemented technology. If you think about how easy it is to go today through a drive-through or go to a curbside parking versus what it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and it's only going to get better. The restaurants that are doing that well and implementing that in a way that's it's not customer obtrusive. I think it's important taking a look at your whole tech stack. And it's, for me, it always starts with your point of sale.
I just want to layer on there for a second. The easier you make those digital orders, we do a lot of curbside, and a lot of times it's the same few of us ordering, and a lot of times we're ordering the same thing. So if your app or whatever says, "Hey, what'd you order last time?" Bam, bam, bam. Checkout, bam. Pick up, curbside, boom. I'm out.
If you figure your most recent order, what space you're in, pay with Apple Pay, you're pretty much done with your ordering process, and it makes it super easy and it should make the customer experience great, which means it's it helps you turn your tables faster or turn the restaurant. Even if you're in store dining, my parents are 75 years old today. I went to breakfast with them, and my parents paid with their phone. The Toast app was right there. That was really easy. I'm like, yeah, it's really easy. And they're like, oh, Yeah, that's so much better than it used to be. So like, it don't have to be afraid of it based on age at this point.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of getting used to it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you see everybody do it. Even when you walking in kiosk, I felt this story was kind of funny. I walk into a place that has just like 5 kiosks, and I just wanted to talk to somebody, and so I'm like looking around, and I didn't feel that comfortable. And like, yeah, like a 70-year-old couple comes in, kiosk, bing, bang, bam. They order, they sit down, and I'm still looking around for someone to talk to. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
people are
it's
comfortable.
everywhere. They had to get
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how much the the population is really just kind of, it's what it is. Either get on board or don't go out or don't go out.
That's true. That's true. All right. We hit on a ton. Give them your socials, your website, any
Sure.
closing parting thoughts?
Yeah, it's patrickaccounting.com and works.com. Works is spelled weird. So WHIRKS. And then my podcast is the One Step Better podcast. And we talk about all things how to be a better business owner.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for, Works is definitely spelled weird. So I'm going to hit him with it again. All right, folks, Matthew Patrick from Patrick Accounting and Works. You can find them at Patrick Accounting, which is pretty easy, patrickaccounting.com, and works.com is WHIRKS.com. For more great restaurant marketing, service people, and tech tips, stay tuned to us here at runningrestaurants.com. In the meantime, if you could do us a huge favor, appreciate it. Just wherever you're listening or watching, give it a quick like or a review or share. All that stuff is super helpful, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you for having me.